And now, the Steph Curry of Philadelphia hockey beat reporters. It is Philly's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, joining us live from the Wells Fargo Center. Chuck, I don't even really know where I want to start tonight. Let's start with Tyson Foerster. Scores the 2 big goals, 45 seconds apart. Just exciting on the 5th out of 5 penalty shots the Flyers have scored now this year. What do you think of Tyson Foerster? And man, what is this dude's ceiling? Because he is on fire right now. He's getting me excited.
Well, I think the big thing for me with Tyson Foerster in this game, and it goes back to something that John Tortorella told us after last night's game, because I was down in D.C., obviously, for that one. And he basically said that the big thing they're lacking right now is the offensive guys on the team. And I took that to mean the established offensive guys. You know, Sean Couturier, Joel Farabee, who does get a goal tonight, Travis Konecny's obviously not in the lineup, but you've got Owen Tippett, who's been not as productive as he's been in the past this season, that Tortorella wanted more from those guys. He wanted one of those guys last night to step up and basically take over a shift, take over 5 minutes, and push the Flyers into a point where they could take back control of the game that they lost control of in the second and third periods. Tonight, I thought the same thing kind of happened. This was following the same script as last night, where the first period, the Flyers play well. You know, they only came out of it with a 1-0 lead versus a 2-0 lead like they did on Friday. But they controlled the play. 19-4, I believe, were the shots on goal in favor of the Flyers. And then the second period hits, and Ottawa takes back control. They tie the game, and Ottawa's outplaying the Flyers in the second period. They needed someone to step up and to just deliver that shift, those 2 shifts, those 3 shifts, to take back control of the game. If you remember, Foerster actually, this is about 2 or 3 minutes before he scores the first goal, because there's a 4-on-4 in between. But right before the 4-on-4, Foerster brings one off the post, and you're like, oh man, Foerster, so close to nail it. I remember thinking, like, classic example of in 3 years, Tyson Foerster probably finishes that shot because he has a better handle on how to finish chances at the NHL level. Well, that was just the start. Because then the 4-on-4 ends, Foerster gets back on the ice, rips one off a faceoff, Flyers take the lead again. Then he has a great defensive play, turns it into a breakaway, draws the penalty shot, scores again, and suddenly, I know Ottawa comes back and they score one near the end with a 2-man advantage because they pull the goalie, but that won the game right there. That 1-minute stretch by Tyson Foerster won the game. That's what they didn't have on Friday. They didn't have anyone stand up and say, we ain't losing this game. I did not expect Tyson Foerster to be the guy who was going to stand up and say, we ain't losing this game. I'm looking more towards the Owen Tippetts, the Joel Farabees, the Sean Couturiers. I was not expecting it to be Tyson Foerster. But it was. And you got to give the kid a shitload of credit for being the guy who stood up and made sure they weren't going to lose what was a pretty big game.
I'm really impressed with what we're seeing out of Tyson Foerster right now. I don't know how anyone couldn't be. And if you look at that rookie scoring race, Charlie, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He catches and passes Marco Rossi and Connor Bedard, at least in the goal scoring. But we'll see how that goes as the season goes on. Let's talk about Felix Sandstrom. I just want to know your impressions of his NHL debut this season. I thought in the first period he looked a little shaky. Maybe he was stabbing at the puck some. Wasn't quite sure where his net was, but he held it together. Confidence grew as the game went on. Got a little lucky at the end. What did you see?
My primary impression of Felix Sandstrom is that he looks a lot better than Cal Peterson. And I know the bar is low, but you know what? When Cal Peterson is your primary competition for the backup job, you still have to exceed that bar. And he very much cleared it. Now, yes, did he get a bit lucky? He had quite a few shots go off post. Sure. Posts are part of the equipment, though. Some of it is the fact that you're in good position and you're giving the shooters nothing to shoot at except the post. Now, a couple of them maybe weren't quite that way, where it was more like Jacob Chikrin had an open net and just hit it off the post. That happens sometimes. Sometimes you get lucky. It's hockey. I thought Sandstrom played pretty well. I thought he made some good saves. It wasn't a dominant performance by any means, but I thought Sandstrom was fine. And the way I look at it is, anybody you would get at this stage of the season, because we talked about the possibility of maybe them tossing a 5th-round pick to somebody at the deadline to get a backup goalie who is an NHL caliber backup. Anybody you get for that price at this point of the year isn't going to be that good either. all they need is a backup goalie behind Sam Ersson to be halfway decent. Like, just don't lose you the game. Don't do what Cal Peterson did on Sunday. And Felix Sandstrom, to me, tonight, he very much cleared that bar of looking good enough. Is he a great goalie? No, probably not, because if he was a great goalie, he wouldn't have been buried down in the minors this entire year. They would have thought, hey, he's the guy. He should be part of this. He's not a great goalie, but he doesn't have to be a great goalie. He just has to be a decent goalie. Tonight he was a decent goalie, and that's really all they needed to win. That and a lot of goalposts.
Hey, Charlie, JP over here. Another key storyline I wanted to ask you about, see if Torts mentioned anything in the presser as well. 5 penalties for the Flyers, the Senators with 5 power play opportunities. Did Torts mention anything about that in the presser today?
Nah, he didn't bring it up. It didn't seem like something he was too frustrated about. I will say that a few of those penalties were kind of light. That might play into why Torts didn't complain about it, because like a few of them didn't seem to me to be very good penalties from the officials. So I don't know why you would get angry at your team when the official makes a bad call against your team. Like, that happens. It's hockey. There's no reason for him to go out and destroy the officials when the Flyers won the game. But I suspect that played into why he wasn't too mad about it, because it wasn't as if, like, I didn't see too many lazy, egregious, awful penalties in this game. Did they take too many penalties? Yeah, they took too many penalties. Ideally, you're not taking a double minor with a bunch of time left in the third period and giving the other team a chance to win, or a chance to come back and get themselves back into a game they were down by 2 at the time. That's not great, but none of the penalties, at least as I remember them, were the kind of penalties where you're just like, oh my God, that was obscenely stupid. It's hockey. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes, and sometimes the officials are going to call penalties that don't really look like penalties. It happens.
It did lead to an interesting exchange between Lotz and Drew, I will say.
I love that they took a couple
buddies.
shots at Giroux tonight. Charlie, I want to ask about Bobby Brink. Stays in the lineup after last night's third period benching. Kind of got benched in the third again tonight. Only 2 shifts in the third period, but 3 shots on goal, a little over 10 minutes time on ice. I thought he responded pretty well. I liked what I saw out of him when he was out there. He wasn't out there that much. What did you make of Bobby Brink after last night's haranguing from John Tortorella?
Yeah, he was not happy with him last night. I thought Brink was okay. He was good on the power play. I thought he made some things happen. Obviously, the Flyers don't score. Shocking. They didn't score on the power play. I'm blown away. But I thought he did some things. He's a creative player. He's going to make some plays. Now, he was 11th on the team in forwards and ice time, so it's not like Tortorella was, overloading him with usage after that game. But I don't think that's that shocking. The big difference from this game versus last game was that with Cam Atkinson back in the lineup, Brink was dropped down to the 4th line. However, the 4th line also has the team's presumptive number 1 center on it. So is it really a 4th line? Kind of, a little. I don't know. The Flyers team, as usual, is crazy because it's the Flyers. I thought Brink was fine. He didn't do anything that made me jump out of my chair and say, holy shit, he's given Torts the FU like Couturier did earlier in February. But he also didn't do anything that made me, facepalm and say, oh God, he's going to get scratched now. He did okay. I'm glad he played. He didn't make anything terribly good happen. He didn't make anything terribly bad happen. Should keep him in the lineup.
Another addition to the lineup tonight was Cam Atkinson, 12-24 time on ice with 1 shot. Not that great again for Cam Atkinson, Charlie.
Did he play? No, but again, his game was, I didn't notice him in a bad way. I just didn't notice him. If you would have told me that he got benched after the first period, I'd have been like, okay, maybe, because I didn't notice him very much in this game. Look, I would like nothing more than for Cam Atkinson to get back to what he was during that stretch where it seemed like he was figuring it out. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, he's 34 going on 35. He missed all of last season. This might just be who he is. And they're going to give him opportunities. They're going to hope that he can get going in some way or another. But in the end, this is a team battling for a playoff spot. And they can't force feed someone minutes hoping that they get it together. If Atkinson gets it together, great. If he doesn't, there's guys like Tyson Foerster ready to take his minutes and ready to run with them.
Charlie, the captain watch continues. Sean Couturier, like you said, he's on that quote unquote fourth line tonight. I mean, if you're playing with Delorier, it's the fourth line, but he's also out there with Brink. I didn't think Coots looked that bad last night when he got bumped up into the top nine. He had a few chances.
Neither did I.
And what did you see out of him tonight? I thought he's continuing to maybe build back a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's making progress, at least to my eyes. He seems like he's skating better. Now, that said, by the numbers, he was really bad by advanced metrics. Like, we're talking about like sub 10% expected goals for at 5-on-5. By the same token, when you're spending a lot of your minutes with Nick Delorier, doesn't really help. But I thought by the eye test, he was skating better than he has recently. Look, the hope is that over these next few games, he can pull his way out of it, because my opinion with Couturier, and I put this in my column that came out, I believe, on Friday, is that during the middle part of March, when every single game is against a really good Eastern Conference team, they're going to need Sean Couturier to be some percentage of what he is at his best. Maybe not 100, but they're going to need him probably to be above 85 or 90, because otherwise they ain't going to beat a lot of the teams they're about to face. So he's going to get the next game against St. Louis, another team that isn't exactly a world beater. Maybe he can build some momentum, because then they go on this trip to Florida and they play against two really good teams. Obviously, they beat Tampa this week, but like that was the weirdest game ever. The lights were half on. Now they will be going into Amalie Arena, a really tough place to play, and then they'll of course be playing against the Florida Panthers, who very well might be the best team in the Eastern Conference. I think they're going to need Sean Couturier, if not playing his best, playing much better hockey than he has been. Is he making progress? I think he's making some. He needs to make more. He needs to make more if the Flyers are going to survive this March stretch, in my opinion.
Charlie, one more for me. This one's going to be fun here. So the most important question of the night, it was obviously a theme night. We had superhero night at the Wells Fargo Center. So, Charlie, what's your favorite superhero?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I was never like a huge superhero person.
Okay.
There was a run when I was a little kid when I really liked Green Lantern for DC. In the Marvel movies, my favorite character by far is Captain America. I mean, that's like not even close. I think he is by far the most interesting and most compelling, and his movies are the best. But I've never been like a huge superhero guy. Like Batman is a classic. Right. And obviously there's a lot you can do with Batman because he doesn't have powers, so you could throw him in a lot of different situations, and that makes him more fun. Plus he's dark and edgy, and that's cool. I don't know. I don't really have like an obvious favorite superhero. I have a bunch I like.
We appreciate the analysis.
That's excellent. Charlie, I just have a couple of things I want to clean up as we let you go. Someone said you're at a children's bowling alley birthday party is what it sounds like. But your audio's fine. It's just very funny that there's clearly something going on. Any surprise?
Yeah, I think it's a men's league game. It looks like a men's league game.
Nice.
I've done it.
There's
I've done it.
Three people on each bench, which tells me it's a men's league game.
Any surprise we didn't see Ronnie Attard tonight in the back-to-back?
Look, I would play Attard. I would have played Attard in this game. I'm not really sure what Mark Stahl's bringing, aside from the fact that, he's not going to make some egregious coverage error. But the egregious error he might make is just, getting beat because he's slow and nowhere near as good as he once was. I probably would have played Attard in this game. I just think it comes down to trust. These are big games. My theory, and we will see if this plays out over the next week, is that they called up Attard to kind of get him acclimated to being around the guys, so that if and when one of Sean Walker or Nick Seeler or both get traded before the deadline or at the deadline, they can more seamlessly slide Attard in. I don't know why else you would call him up just to sit around and not play, unless you have designs on him playing at some point in the relatively near future. That, to me, is probably what's going on. But I don't know. I guess we're going to have to see how the rest of this week plays out with the deadline and who gets moved, who doesn't get moved. And maybe if nobody gets moved, they set Attard back down. And then you'll know that that's what it was. It was, hey, he's here in case there's a trade.
If no one gets moved, Charlie, the last thing I'm going to be thinking about is Ronnie Attard. Can you tell us anything about the report of Denver Barkey potentially signing his ELC tomorrow? And if it's the case, do you think we could see him in the NHL at all, maybe after the deadline this year?
No, there is zero chance that Denver Barkey is going to be in the NHL. Signing him to an ELC, this is not something I've chased down because it's just not that important. Like, it's important to get him signed to an entry-level contract because he's a quality prospect. But there is negative 20% chance that Denver Barkey plays in an NHL game this season. It's not going to happen. He's not physically ready. Like, the kid looks like he's 12. He's not going to play. What's good about this is that I thought it was kind of odd that he hadn't yet been signed to an ELC. Now, I spoke with Denver Barkey on the phone about a month and a half ago, and he sounded like someone who is very excited about being a Flyer and about joining the organization. So I was not worried that this was Cutter Gauthier Part 2. So my only thought was, okay, the reason why he doesn't have an ELC yet is because the Flyers haven't yet deemed him worthy of having an ELC. Look at what he's doing this year. He's very obviously worthy of having an ELC. So I'm glad that he's going to probably get one. Like, I have no reason to believe that this report is wrong. It makes sense. He should be signed. He's a really good prospect. But no, he is not ready to be an NHLer. I do not think there is almost any chance he makes the team out of camp next year, even with an entry-level contract. He's probably going back to London for another season. And then we'll see what happens. I'm really excited about Denver Barkey as a prospect, but no, Denver Barkey is not going to be the reinforcements they get down the stretch. There's no chance.
All right, just wanted to make sure we put it out there for the people, Charlie. Now, without any further ado, it's time for Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars, and feel free to pick who is ever doing all the scoring in this men's league game. It's going wild out there.
Well, it's a men's league game. There's going to be a lot of goals. The goaltending probably isn't that good. Not going to lie. I know what, I'm not even going to make a Cal Peterson joke. Never mind.
Let's go to star number 3.
Star number 3. I will go with Felix Sandstrom, actually. You know what? This was a tough spot for him to come in. Obviously, he hasn't played in the NHL all season. He's got the pressure of knowing that this is a big opportunity for him. Hell, it could be his last opportunity, seriously, to be a long-term NHL goalie, because if he doesn't carve his path out as a backup goalie now, my guess is that in the offseason, the Flyers will go out and they will trade for or sign an established NHL backup. If Felix Sandstrom delivers 4 or 5 good starts the rest of the way, maybe he gives them pause, and maybe they think, hey, this kid maybe could be a decent backup. I thought he was fine. I don't think he was amazing. He made some tough saves. He got some help from the post, but I thought he did his job. He did his job in a game, and he played well at the end of the game. He played well. Obviously, he gives up that 1 goal to Shabbat, but I don't know if anybody was stopping that one. He played well. He played well enough to win, and when you saw what a bad backup can do for a team earlier this week against Pittsburgh, it was nice to see the Flyers get good backup goaltending for Felix Sandstrom. So for that reason, I'll give him my 3rd star.
Who is star number 2?
Star number 2, I'll go with Joel Farabee. I liked the way he came out in this game. He obviously hasn't scored in a while. I think someone tweeted out that on 97.5, he apparently made a comment where, like, this will get all the people on Twitter to shut up. Joel, it will never get all the people on Twitter to shut up. So, like, I appreciate the sentiment, but they will never log off. Do not think that 1 goal will get them to log off. They never will. However, love that he got back on the score sheet. I don't think he's been playing terribly over this last stretch. He's just not scoring. And the Flyers need him to score. They need guys like him, Couturier and Tippett, to score, especially when the schedule gets tougher starting next week. I loved seeing him back on the score sheet. Nice goal for him. Hopefully this gets him back going. So he is my star number 2.
And I can't imagine it would be anyone else, but let's see who you have at star number 1.
Yeah, it's Tyson Foerster. He took over this game at the end of the second period. The Flyers needed someone to do it. I did not expect Tyson Foerster to be the one who did it, but he did it. And now he has 9 goals in his last 9 games, I believe. Pretty freaking cool, especially given the fact that he had an injury in between. I love the fact that he was able to kind of pick right back up where he left off. I was afraid that was going to sort of halt his momentum and halt whatever he was figuring out at the time. Instead, he just kept on scoring the minute he came back. So it's been cool to watch Tyson Foerster. It looks like he's kind of on the path to scoring 20 goals as a rookie. That's pretty neat. And I do think with him, it's kind of like a sky's the limit type of thing. He's an exciting guy.
Charlie, Flyers rookies with 20 goals since the lockout. Matt Reed, Jeff Carter, RJ Umberger. Pretty good company right there if Tyson Foerster can get there. Before we let you go, I have to send a pop quiz your way because I had to look this up. It's almost 2 years since the Giroux trade. Who were the two players that went to the Panthers with Claude Giroux?
Oh, it was German Rubtsov was one. Was it Connor Bunnaman?
Connor Bunnaman, that's the one I had to look up. Yes, you nailed it, Charlie. And that's what makes you
good.
That's what makes you Philly's number 1 hockey beat reporter. I will talk to you on Monday, my friend.
Thanks, Charlie.
All right. Thanks, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.